Howdy gamers, in this devlog I'm going to show you how I added these buttons to show images in my Dota 2 mod. So the first step is to get Panorama set up. If you haven't done that, that's outside of the scope of this, but you should check out the Mod Dota website. It's got instructions on how to get yourself set up with Panorama, and so you can use that to get started. So to start with, in my case, I made this mapui.xml and helpui.xml. They're basically identical except for the image path that they both accept for what they show. So for now, I'm just going to be talking about mapui since helpui is basically the same. So I made a single panel to contain everything and then two subpanels to contain the button and the image. Something really important to do though is to set hit test to false on here. If we look in Dota, you can see that if I hover over this, I still see everything. I can move my items around. But if I leave this part out and then restart the game, you'll notice that now that when I hover over these things, it doesn't pop up with a tooltip. And now if I try to move these items, it doesn't work. I'm not quite sure how exactly this works, but I assume that basically the hit test thing has to do with whether or not this container object counts as something that has priority in terms of being clicked on or something. I'm not sure how it works. I just know that if I leave it out, then it breaks my mod because you can't drop items anymore and you can't hover over tooltips. But anyways, so we've got this panel, we've got two subpanels, and then we have an image in this panel. And the reason that this is here inside of another panel instead of just the image by itself is that I found that in the CSS, when I tried to style this and set a width and other things, it didn't seem to respect those settings. Could be that I goofed up on something, but at the very least, having this show map image container here allows me to change the size because it will at least respect the bounds of the container that it's in here. But anyway, so this is all the code for making the button. Oh, and I think the same was true for the button. I don't actually remember at this point though. But anyway, so we've got our button, we've got our, image panel thing, but we need some code in order to tell it to show and hide the image. So here is my TypeScript file. I imagine it'll look very similar if you were doing JavaScript, just without type annotations basically. And this is included here in scripts. It gets past this context panel. I assume this just passes it this here. Whenever it starts up. Code here is pretty simple. We find the child that is the default Valve button ID, just because I was copy pasting from Mod Dota website stuff, and so here's the ID. So it finds this, and then it says, okay, let's add an event for on mouse activate, which seems to just be a left click. Then we find the child, which is map image container, which is this one, and then we find its child that's show map image, which is this one, and then we check out the style. The CSS stuff has styling information for whether or not something's visible. It is either set to visibility collapse or visibility visible, so this just swaps which one it is. And so, it sets it from collapsed to visible, and then click it from visible to collapsed, and that's basically it. Yeah, I'm sure there's a smarter way to do this, especially a way that creates the panels using code. But I was finding that when I tried to create these image panels and stuff using code, and also the button images using code, it just wasn't really working. I know that it can be done because, the quick craft UI stuff in this mod, dynamically creates buttons like this. But I just wasn't having any luck. Probably forgot to do something. It's probably doable, but this was at least a pretty simple way to get things done. And it does require a little bit of repetition, but it's some pretty trivial copy pasting here, especially since I can reuse this map UI script between that and this. Well, anyways, that's about it. If this helped you out, definitely leave a comment. Let me know. I love to see that type of stuff, and I'll catch you next time.